everyone, thanks for joining me for a new lesson video, and today I wanted to talk about Marty Friedman's solo on Tornado of Souls by Megadeth. If you saw my previous little teaser video, I said it was one of my favorite solos of all time, and if not, in my opinion, the greatest metal solo of all time. So what better time to go through a little tutorial on how to play that solo than now, since a lot of people have been sort of rediscovering it. Marty Friedman's been one of my favorite guitar players because he has such a unique voice with his phrasing. I can never expect where his solos are going to go or what he's gonna do. I always find it very exciting. So it was the band that first got me into metal because I was a big fan of Jason Becker and Cacophony, and my friend Dom said, hey, he's in this other band, Megadeth. So I was like, alright, I'd check it out, and it was Rust in Peace, and the solos on there were just incredible because I could not imagine creating or writing any of those solos. It felt so foreign to me, and it was the first time where I really learned about harmony and not trying to really stick with the key and doing some more interesting things with your playing. So I was such a stupid student that, like, if someone told me something, I would have just, oh, that's fact, and I wouldn't really try to think outside the box. So for example, if there's a song in the key is C major, oh, you just play the notes in C major and that's it. You know, like a puzzle piece. And it's really not like that. It could be a little bit looser if you want it to be. And Marty Friedman was probably the first guitar player that I really paid attention to that too, where, for example, this song is really in B minor, but you're not playing perfectly B minor all the time. You're kind of playing to each chord, and that's kind of what slowly built the foundation to kind of where I am now. But it was the first time I really experienced that. So I want to go through the solo, how it's played on the record, which I think is the definitive version. I'll talk about how Marty changes it live, and I'll talk about a little bit about the harmony and sort of some of the minor details in it. But I don't want to go too overboard with this lesson. It's more just how to actually play it. So let's get down to it. Alright, so let's talk about the chords that are going on underneath the solo. First of all, they're all power chords, which Marty is going to exploit later as we talk about the actual solo. A B power chord, to a G, to an E, an F sharp, to an A, a quick B flat, and then back to B. And that B flat doesn't really fit all those chords, but I sort of treat it as like a major 5 to 1. So in this case, it'd be the F sharp major to B minor. But that's really no here to there. That's kind of like just a sidebar because you're approaching the chord the root a half step below, and to me that always sounds like a 5 to 1. In any case, the key that you would say would be B minor or B Aeolian. But this is where I learned from Marty about you don't really have to stick to that. You could be a little bit more adventurous by playing to each particular chord. So we'll talk about how Marty does that once we start going into the actual solo. So we have a B minor kind of sound, you know, B minor pentatonic, and that's why I was saying the idiot me as a student would just think, oh, this is all in B minor, I just play B minor over B minor pentatonic, but that could limit your phrasing. Also, all the chords change on an upbeat. So it has like a rushed kind of feel to it. So it sounds like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, and 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 2, 3, 4, and 2, 3, and 4, and. So every chord changes on the upbeat. So that's the chord progression that's going on underneath, and it repeats 6 times. And for each solo part, I'll just talk about one of those repeats and what's going on in there. So that's the solo chords. So before we start the solo, I want to talk a little bit about Marty's style. Marty has a really, really interesting style, and he has a few sort of phrasing characteristics that are very apparent in this solo. One of them that I picked up right away when I was younger and I first discovered Marty Friedman and Megadeth was his use of bending. He would typically bend a note out of your key into a note in the key. So for example, if you're playing, like, you know, B minor pentatonic, you would take, like, instead of the flat 7, this kind of you might start from the major 7 and bend into the note. He also would pre-bend the note by like a half step, release it very quickly, and then slowly release it back into the key. So you have something like something like that, which is really really cool, and that's what starts the solo. Marty's kind of his kind of philosophy for solos would be like, you start with the weird phrase and you end with the weird phrase, and that's what this solo does. It starts off a little strange and ends with a strange phrase, but it's constantly building, and it attacks the chords in such an interesting way, which is why I think it's basically perfect. So anyway, that kind of bending, wide vibrato kind of stuff, very vocal kind of phrasing, is something that's very apparent in his playing. The other thing that's very apparent is the use of Eastern kind of melodies, basically just using the Japanese scale. You can think of that kind of scale as like F sharp Phrygian, but without the third and without the flat 7. So he uses that a bit in this solo, as well as using sometimes some sort of interesting chromatic kind of phrasing, another Eastern kind of thing, that kind of thing you see in Marty's playing a bit. Also the use of arpeggios, usually playing the arpeggio to the chord that's going on behind it, but also doing things like doubling up on a particular set of notes just to throw off the rhythmic phrasing, which we'll see later. When he plays the B minor, he'll double up the top note twice. Well, really the last two notes. And he does that a number of times and other things. He might do like alternate between 2 and 1, you know, or 1, 2, 3. Something like that. That you see a lot in his playing. But I think those are really just the few main characteristics that you'll see in this solo. Otherwise, it's pretty straightforward. So let's get started. So this is the first repeat out of the 6, the beginning of the solo, and again I'll talk about sort of the little harmony things that are going on there when applicable, and also how Marty's changing it live. So the first part of the solo starts off with that weird phrase. It's a bend from out of key into the key, and the beginning part is just a B minor moving up, but you're bending from the 3rd fret on the G string. It's a pre-bend. There's no real set for any of these pre-bends, like distance for it. You're just grabbing the note at any height, I guess, and then just slowly bending, well, quickly bending it back down, releasing it, and then starting back up slowly. So in this case, he's starting from the major 7 of B minor, so it's A sharp, and like go, and then whoop, bending into B, like that. And then it climbs up the B minor scale, so it's 4th fret, 6th, 7th, and then sliding up to the 9th fret on all on the G string. Another part of Marty's playing that I actually forgot to mention before is his use of kind of like slurry, kind of drunk melodies where things aren't always on the beat. They're always just like a little dragging or a little rushed, like that. Really very slurry vocal melody, and that happens right in the beginning. So we've got that B minor climb up to the 9th fret, and then a slide up to the 11th fret, and then a pull off from the 11th fret to the 9th fret. So like that. And also you can dig into the strings a little bit, and you know, there's like the beginning phrase, like, there's like a slide from above, you know, to give it more of that vocal kind of quality to it. So we've got all that kind of bending and sliding, all this very vocal phrasing to it. So we go from the 11th fret, and then we're pulling up to the 9th fret, then a slide down to the 7th fret. That's all over the B to the G, and then when it gets to the, I believe, to the E part, he does that kind of drunk phrasing again, where he's bending the major 7th, pre-bending it, releasing it, and then bending back up to an E, like that. And then over that E minor chord. It's basically like a B minor pentatonic thing. Like that. So it's a 7th fret to 9th fret on the G, 10th fret to 7th fret on the B, then back to 9 and 7 on the G string, and then you slide down with your first finger to the 6th fret on the G, hammer back on, or you could pick it to the 7th fret, and then you're picking the 9th fret on the D string. Little bit of a rest there, and then a quick 6, 7, 6 on the G string, and then that C sharp here should be over the F sharp, so that's like the perfect fifth to that chord. So that whole B minor pentatonic phrase, and then you do the 6th, 7th fret again on the G, 6, 7, 6, and then 9th fret on the D string, pull off to the 7th fret on the D, and then the 9th fret on the A string, and then you hammer the 7th to 9th on the D string, and then you end on that 9th fret on the A string, and that's the F sharp. So that would be the perfect fifth of the first chord again, which is B. So that's the beginning of the second part. So this is what that solo part sounds like to be in the beginning. Now on to the second repeat. Now I should note, with all this kind of vocal phrasing, you don't have to play it the same way every time. Marty sometimes will play with it a little bit, with the main point still being there, but maybe just adding a little bit more phrasing. Like even that last part, instead of doing something like that, you might go like... So just a little bit of a change there, but the main parts are still there. So now at this part, this is where Marty deviates from the solo live. I don't know why or when this started to happen. I don't think he's ever played it like this, like on the record. But I think even on the earliest videos that I've seen of Megadeth performing the song, Marty plays it this way and not what's on the record. I don't know if what he played on the record was a little bit of a mistake and he meant this instead. I don't know. But so we start again from the first chord, which is that B pentatonic, or B minor. So we did all that B minor pentatonic stuff, but now it's time to change a little bit. And now he starts the second repeat with the F sharp Japanese scale. So it's something like that. It's the 9th fret to the 10th fret on the A string, and then 9, 11, 12 on the D string. And the Japanese scale is a pentatonic scale. It's a 5-note scale. So it's just those notes that just repeat over and over again. So after that, after the F sharp to G, and then the 9, 11, 12 on the D string, jump back up to the 11th fret on the G, and then you play the 12th fret to the 14th fret on the B string. So you got this. And then you play those two notes again with your other two, you replace them with your 2nd, 4th finger to your 1st and 3rd finger, like that. Now live, Marty does this instead. Starts off the same way, and then plays that F sharp on the G string, but then instead of climbing to the B string, goes back to the 14th fret on the A string and plays a B minor add 9 arpeggio. So he'll do 14th fret on the A string, 11th fret on the D, 12th fret on the D, and then back to the 11th fret on the B string. I mean on the G string, and then the last two notes, the 12th fret and the 14th fret on the B string, but using his 2nd and 3rd finger, I believe. So something. This is the live version, like that. I prefer what's on the record, but that's just me. But then the rest of it is pretty much the same. The bend that he does on the record after he goes from 12, 14, live, because he's starting with the 2nd and 3rd finger, he'll bend up a half step, to the D, which is the 15th fret on the B string. But on the record, he does that outside the key bending thing again. What he does is he actually bends from the 13th fret up a whole step, like that, which on my video I got wrong because I listened to it as like a combination of all these different parts. But I went through the isolated track and really listened to it, and it's actually a bend from the 13th fret. So the record goes like this. Like that. So he's bending up a whole step from the 13th fret. But then you kind of catch the note with your third finger going down on the 14th fret. Like that. And then it's a pull off on the 12th fret. And then again you do that like out of key bend, but instead of going a whole step, you're just going a half step to the 14th fret. Like that, and then you play the 12th fret on the B string twice, hammer up a whole step to the 14th fret, and then play the 12th fret on the G string. But at that point we're at a G chord, right? Oh no, we're at the minor third over E. So. So that G is over the E minor, so he's treating it as E minor there. And then we got this B minor add 9 phrase. It's the 14th fret, you pick that twice. Slide up to the 15th fret and then back down to the 14th fret. And then you pull off to the 10th fret. And then you do a little hammer on and pull up from 14 to 10. Like that. And then 14th fret on the B string. Back up to the 10th fret, back down to the 14th fret, pull off to the 12th fret, you pick the 11th fret now on the G string, slide down a whole step to the 11th fret, I'm sorry, the 9th fret, and then pick the 11th fret, pull off to 9, slide down to 7, and then that E note, the 9th fret, you can kind of play, but sometimes that note is like you stop on the 7th fret, and then you just do a sort of like a pre-bend on the 9th fret, and then you pick the 7th fret, and then you move down a half step to the 6th fret, which is the major third of A. So we got something like that. Like that, and of course that pre-bend doesn't have to be a whole step or even half step, and both kind of work. So this is what that whole phrasing sounds like on the record. Like that. Then we go on to the third repeat of the solo. Right now on the third repeat, we're going to amp up the phrasing a little bit more, get it to be a little bit more exciting. We're always building. So over that B chord, Marty plays 2 B minor add 9 arpeggios. The first one being between the 10th and 14th fret. So it starts off with the 14th fret on the high E, and a little trill part between the 10th fret and 14th fret. Then 14th fret to 12th fret on the B string, to the 11th fret on the G, and then back up. And then that slides up to the next position of a B minor add 9 arpeggio. So now we're at the 19th fret, pulling off to 14, and then 15, 14 on the B string, and then 16th fret on the G string, and then back up. Now, live, Marty changes the position of that first B minor add 9 arpeggio. I think it's probably because it could be a little tricky sliding up from 14 to 19 and possibly missing that note. But he takes those same notes and just plays them on between the B and the D string. So it's 19 to 15 on the B string, and then 18 to 16 on the G string, and then 16 on the D string. and then just goes back up. I just think that sounds a little bit more stale than the more exciting slide up and the little trill here. So that's over the B. Then over the G, it's an E minor arpeggio. Like that. So it's your normal E minor arpeggio, and what's interesting is we have a G and a B over our G chord, so it's G major, but now we're adding in the E, which is like the 6 or the 13, or you could think of it as like a weird inversion of an E minor 7, but you never would. It's really just a G major with the added 13. So we got our plain old E minor phrasing arpeggio, and the rhythm of that's a little bit interesting. So it's 19 to 15, back to 17 on the B string, 16, and then 17 on the D string. So it's not the full 5-string arpeggio, it's a 4-string. And then back up, but then the last 3 notes are a little faster. It's like a triplet feel. And then from that B, or the 19th fret, you're actually bending a step and a half. So you're bending up to a D. And then on the record, it's a quick 19, 18, 19 thing like that on the high E string. But live, I think Marty just after the bend bends a half step down from the 18th to the 19th, like that. Like that, live, something like that. Now the really cool part is over that E chord. Now remember, these are all power chords. They don't have a third in it. They're not major or minor. Earlier in the part before, we played a G. This time Marty treats it as E major. The same kind of phrasing as before, with the little trill on the top. So now it's 19 and then 16, 19, 16, 17 on the B string, but now 16 on the G, and you're sliding that down to 13, and then playing the 14th fret on the D string. So that's all E major. And then one of the things that Marty does when he plays arpeggios is that he string skips. So a lot of people play this by playing your normal, your kind of barred E major arpeggio, but it's actually easier by doing the string skipping. So after that D string note on the 14th fret, you're actually going to hammer 13 to 16 on the G, and then you skip the B string, and then you hammer 12 to 16, or you could upstroke the highest note there, the 16, and then you go back down. So like that, and that now it has a triplet feel. Triplet, triplet, triplet. And then you end on the 13th fret, and you slide that down to the 9th fret, which is another E. And then we have this little octave part on the 11th fret. It's the octaves between the G string and the E string. And I think Marty's supposed to be going like, but he's not really playing it like that. It's more like almost like a shuffle feel. So it's 11th fret to the 12th fret. And then what's interesting is before we were treating it as F sharp minor with an A. Now we're moving that octave to the 15th fret, which is an A sharp, so it now sounds like F sharp major. Again, Marty playing with the tonality of each chord. Like that, and then that from the 15th fret slides down all the way down to the 7th fret. And then you're moving, you're sliding up to the 9th fret on the G, and then you're sliding down to the 6th fret, which is now the major third of A. So it sounds like this. Like that. So that whole section, that third repeat, sounds like this. And now it's time for the fourth section. So this part, once again, we're amping up the excitement to build to the crescendo of the solo, the ending. this has one of the more trickier lines in it towards the end. So the first chord that we have again is B, so Marty's playing like a B minor pentatonic, like that, and it's just 7th fret on the G to 9th fret on the D to 9th fret on the A, and then 9th fret on the D to 7th fret to 9th fret on the G. And then again, we're bending a note out of the scale into the key, but what's interesting here is that even though it's like the flat 5 of B minor pentatonic, we're bending to that F, we're bending from E flat, or the 8th fret, like that, and you're sort of pulling the note off with your 3rd finger, and then bending the note up a whole step, and then back to the 7th fret. And what's cool about that is that's over a G chord. So when Marty gets to that part of the solo and he's playing the flat 5, that kind of sound, it's actually the flat 7 of G, so it's like you're playing the dominant 7. You just have to take my word for it. It didn't sound as good as I thought it was going to sound. Once again, we have more B minor pentatonic phrasing because the whole section is in B minor, and that's over that E chord. So we have 9th fret on the D string to 7th fret on the G, back to the 9th fret twice, and then again 7th fret on the G to the 9th fret on the D, and then a pull off from the 9th fret to the 7th fret on the G, and then a pull up from the 9th fret to the 7th fret on the D string, and then a quick bend up on the 9th fret, and it's about a step and a half. So it's a quick, just like, once again, it's that vocal phrasing. And then you're doing a slide down with your 3rd finger from the 9th fret to the 7th fret with your 3rd finger. But if you have light strings, it should be easy to grab, but sometimes you might miss it. But it's about a step and a half. And then there's a quick pull off to the 5th fret, that D, but I think that might be just a passing thing, just to let go of your hand and move to the next part. So that was over the B, G, and E part. And now this next section is really tricky, and it's over the F sharp and the A power chords. So let's see what Marty's doing here. He starts off with a diminished, like a diminished 7th arpeggio, but with an F sharp in the bass. So this is really implying like an F sharp 7 flat 9. So it's 9th fret on the A string, and then 8th fret on the D string, and then you're hammering on to the 11th fret. So that's F sharp major right there. And then you're playing with your middle finger the 9th fret on the G, which is the flat 7 E. And then your first finger's playing the 9th fret on the B, so that's your flat 9, and then you're hammering the B flat, or really A sharp, the major 3rd, on the 11th fret on the B string. And now this all has a triplet feel, triplet, triplet, and then all diminished arpeggios are all symmetrical and minor 3rd up. So even though the root is technically not part of that diminished 7 triad, the upper structure of it, the 7 flat 9 part of it is. So that's going to be moved up a major 3rd and back down. But once again, Marty changes it. It could be a physical mistake. So that 11th fret on the B string moves up to the 14, pull off 11, 12th fret, same shape as before because it's symmetrical, 12th fret on the G string, 14th fret on the D string. Now I think Marty was supposed to go for the C sharp, or the 11th fret, because it's perfectly symmetrical, but he ends up playing a D instead. I don't know why. It could just, like I said, it could be a physical mistake with where his finger is and how he's phrasing it, but that's what it is on the record. I think live he's actually playing a C sharp, so take that for how you want it. So after that D, or the 12th fret, you're pulling off on the D string. Your pinky plays the 14th fret on the A string. So, like that. And then over the A, you're playing an A major arpeggio first. You're going 12th fret on the A string, 11th fret on the D string, hammering onto the 14th fret. And then this is the tricky part. Like I said before, how Marty likes his string skipping arpeggios. You do that here. So now what you're doing is you're hammering on from the 10th fret to the 14th fret on the B string. And here's the really tricky part. You slide up all the way up to F sharp of the 19th, and then back down to the 14th. And then you pull off again to 10, and then you're hammering. Then you're playing the 12th fret on the G string, and then back up 10, 14, 10. So that really makes an A7 arpeggio, but now you're also got the F sharp in there, so it's like a 13. If you don't want to slide, you can also bar with your pinky, like that. But once again, with Marty, it's all about the phrasing and the sliding and the bending and how you're doing it. So that section is really tricky, and this is what it sounds like slow. Like that. So over the F sharp, he's treating it like F sharp 7 flat 9, and then over the A13, or just an A dominant thing. Live, again, he changes it because I think it's so physically weird. It starts off the same way, but now instead of playing that D, obviously he's playing the 11th fret, but then he stops on the A and then plays like an A7 arpeggio going up. I can never really tell what he's really going for live. It's because it's not always perfect, and it's not really a big deal, but he's not doing the sliding or anything, so it's throwing off the rhythm for something like that. But then that leads into the more iconic part, which is the arpeggio section, which is the 5th repeat. Alright, so this section is one of the easier ones to understand because it's pretty straightforward, but it's physically tricky to play. So this entire section, Marty is playing arpeggios to the chords that are underneath and treating them how he sees fit. So over the first chord, that B, we have a B minor arpeggio, and like I said before, Marty sort of doubles up on the top 2 notes with the pick. So the phrasing for each one of these chord parts is the same. So like once it goes to G, it has the same rhythmic phrasing, and it's all 16th notes, and it's B minor, so it's 14th fret on the E to pull off on the D, and then on the 12th fret on the B. Now on the record, because you're coming from the weird section, it slid up from underneath to the 14th fret, and it kind of like drags into the, it's not perfectly 16th notes, it's like a triplety kind of thing, but then by like the second beat, it's straight 16th notes into there, so it slows down a little bit. Like that. So it's that B minor arpeggio, so I think it was how many times I've got to like double up on the pinky note, so it's 1, 1, 2, 1, 2. And then now we're at the second measure of that part, and you're alternating between the 15th fret and the 14th fret. Like that. So you're really just playing a B minor and you're adding in the flat 13 here. And now that pinky moves up from 14 to 15 with the same notes on the bottom. So now this is over the G chord, it's treating it as G major, and then your pinky's alternating between the 15th fret and the 17th fret, which is the 9 of G. Then Marty changes this live, which I actually prefer what's on the record. You now move your pinky note from 15 to 16, so now you have 16, 10, and 12 on the B string. So this makes an E7 arpeggio because you're playing the major 3rd, the flat 7, and then the 5th. You're not playing the E there. And then again, you're moving up from 17 to 16 and back down. Like that. Live, Marty, probably because it's difficult to stretch, just bars his first finger on the 12th fret and just plays the E instead of the D. So it's like this. Like that. Doesn't really have the same effect to me. But then after that E7, Marty plays an F sharp major arpeggio. So again, we were treating it as F sharp minor, but now it's the 18th fret to the 14th fret on the E string, and then the 14th fret on the B string. So once again, it's that 1, 2, 2 kind of phrasing. And then because the chord changes in the middle of the measure, we now have to move to A major in the middle of it. So we've got something like, I'll try that again. There we go. And now we're playing A major. So it's 14th fret, 12th fret on the high E string, and then 17th fret on the high E string. So that's A major, sorry. So that the phrasing on there is 1, 2, 1, and then you're bending from the 17th fret to the 19th fret a whole step. And then it goes on to the final section. So he's treating the chords as B minor to G major to E7 to F sharp major to A major, and then back again. Once again, through all these sections, it's basically ignoring the B flat power chord moving into the B. Like I said, it's almost like a 5-to-1. But this is what that section sounds like slowly. Like that. And then we're going to go into the last section of the solo, which is probably the weirdest and the one that's the hardest to describe, so I'm going to try my best there. Alright, so for this final section, only the last part is really written out. This kind of section is kind of open and free. So Marty plays it a little bit differently every time. He's once again just thinking of B minor here, but on the record it was kind of hard to figure out. I think I know what he was going for. So I think over the B minor is once again based off of that Japanese scale. So it's sort of like, I think he's doing something like this. Something like that. So I'm starting with like a slide up to the 18th fret on the G string, and then picking the 15th fret on the B string, hammering up, or picking the 19th fret and pulling off, and then back to 18, 16, and then sort of again from 15, 19, and then to the 18th fret. And then it's sort of like an F sharp minor arpeggio, like this. So that's the 19th fret to the 17th fret on the B string, and then the 21st fret on the E string. I don't know if I said that before, and then off again. But I don't know if he's going for this particular phrase, just missing it with his finger. One of the phrases that Marty likes to do is he'll sort of take this phrase and move it somewhat diatonically across the B and the E string. So for example, if we're in E minor, you could do something where like you're hammering on 12 to 15, and then you're barring with your third finger to play also the 15th fret on the E string, and you're doing 2 upstrokes there, and then you can slide that down, and now you try to keep that diatonic to E minor. So here it's like a minor third kind of thing, here it's a whole step thing, and then you move down to a whole step, and then here it's a half step, and then down it's a whole step again, and then it's a whole step one again, and then you're back again. And then we'll see that in the next section. So I think that's what he was going for, but now we're doing it in B minor, so it would be like B minor. So now this to this A position, to this G position, to this F sharp position, to this E position, to this D position, and then you're back to B minor again. Oops. So I don't know if he's really going for that and then his third finger is just hitting the 20th fret. But I'll never know. But if you really want to play more accurately, I just play it like the triangle version of the arpeggio. And this is why you need 24 frets, because after that, Marty plays that lick that I was just doing, but up on the 24th fret. So you're in this like D major area, and then you slide that down to the B minor area. So it's I guess I'll try to tab out all of it verbally. 24, 24 on the B and the E string, pulling off to the 22nd fret and sliding down to 19, and then hammering on to 22, upstroking the 22 on the high E string and then the B string, pulling off, going down now, sliding down to 17, and then hammering on 19. So you got, and then you're sliding down to 15 and then hammering on a 17, and then sliding down to 14 and hammering on 15, and then sliding down and hammering on to 12 to 14. So it's like this. Only the G, F sharp, and E part, that's how I think about it internally. Is it like faster? I think they're like eighth notes, but he's grouping basically 5 notes in those eighth notes, so it's a little bit faster. It's like that. And then he's sliding down to 10, and then he's hammering on 12 to 10. So it's like, and then he's picking the 12th fret again and hammering on, pulling off to 10, sliding down to 8, hammering on the 10s, pulling off to 8, moving down a half step to 7, and then he's going 8, 7, 10, 7. So it's, and then I think he's doing 8, 7 again, and then 10 on the G string, the flat 5. Back to the 7th fret on the high B, on the B string, back to 10 on the G, sliding down a half step to the 9th fret, pulling off to the 7th fret, and then hammering on again. So like when Marty's playing that live, that kind of part is somewhat set in stone, but he plays with it rhythmically, puts it in different areas, and then sort of just moves down to a B minor pentatonic thing. But that's what it kind of is on the record. I'll do that whole thing. This part from here, it's sort of written out. It's this bend. So you're bending up from the 9th fret on the G, this B minor pentatonic thing. So it's a bend up from 9th fret to 11th fret. And then first finger on the high E string on 7. Pull up from 10 to 7 on the B string. And then you're bending up the 10th fret to a whole step again. And then you end the solo on a weird phrase, as Marty would say. And if you watched any of my Allen stuff, anytime I see this kind of thing, I'm always thinking the major with the add flat 6, but I don't think Marty's thinking about that. I have no idea what he's really thinking about here. But it leads up really beautifully into the next section. So this is over the F sharp and A part. That whole section that we did before was over the B minor, G, and E minor thing. So it's 4, 5, 7 on the G, and then 4, 5 on the B string. And then you go back to the 7th fret on the G, and then slide up a minor 3rd. And then you do the same phrasing, same fingering, 7, 8, 10, 7, 8, and then slide up that 10th fret to 14. And now you're here on the 12th fret, so now you moved up a major 3rd, and it's 12, 14, 11, 12, 11, and then you're picking the 14th fret on the G string, and then doing 2 downstrokes. So that's another 11, 12, 11. Back to 11, and then 12, pull off to 11, and then 12 again. And over that last part, it's over that A to B flat, and you're basically just playing B flat, A, and well, B, B flat, and A. Or you could think of it as just like you're sort of enclosing around, well, not really around, but you're like playing from B minor, the flat 7 and the major 7, that kind of thing. And like I said, Marty does that kind of phrasing a lot. But yeah, that's really the whole Tornado of Souls solo, as accurate as I can get. And like I said, Marty plays around with that part a little bit live, so but that ending part is pretty much secure. So yeah, I'll play through the whole solo a little slowly and play along with the song and see how it all goes together. Again, tabs for all this stuff will also be available on the Terriginous website, so if I do a bad job trying to yell out what all the notes are and all the tabs are, you can look at it there. And here it is with the song. Alright, so now you know the Tornado of Souls solo. I hope you learned some cool stuff, and well, what can I say? And if anyone here is a big Alan fan that is still waiting for me to do that stuff, I have a ton of stuff planned that I want to do, but I have a big project that I'm trying to get finished in about a month. So, again, thank you for joining me, and I'll see you guys next time.